Oh, we can accept this challenge, I guess. Let's say hello. Zoom in on the screen. And let's start. So I'm trying to play the fourth file rook. Okay, he just closes that, so that makes it easier. Let's go right for it. He plays the third file rook. So if I walk over my usual Mino castle, I'm kind of walking into it. But it should be okay. I guess my attack is just a little slower. Let's wait and see how his attack develops. Is he going to just push that pawn right away? He decided to move the king one step. Okay, so I push, he takes, I take. He drops a pawn and I go back. So he loses a turn to open up this file slightly. We will save that as an option. Let's bring the silver in. Maybe that'll be more interesting. Keep this bishop's diagonal open now, so when he pushes, I will... he is going for that. Okay, so if I do silver up, he pushes, I take, he takes. Then I drop a pawn, and he has to go back. So I can do silver up. He pushes, I drop. The pawn is defending the silver there. This diagonal is still closed. He just went there. This pawn is actually defended. Let's bring the king up. Okay, he's going to bring the silver in to enhance his attack. Let's move my king aside. Maybe I can push this pawn and take advantage of his bishop here, which is undefended at the moment. So if I get a pawn here and he takes it, I can take his bishop. Okay, so he moved his bishop here where it's defended by the knight. Observant, he's paying attention. Do I want the bishop exchange anyway? I push the pawn, he takes. I take the bishop, knight takes. And then I have a bishop in hand. And he's got a rook here. I can drop the bishop here. Can't do much there. Can I do much on the back row? I could drop the bishop here, hitting this pawn. This knight, or this gold is defended, so it's not like it's doing much. So I take, he takes. I could drop the bishop here, hitting the knight and hitting this. But the rook actually defends the knight there. Okay, let's bring the gold up then. No, he's looking to take this pawn. Or what? I don't understand. I was going to attack his rook if he took that pawn. Then I thought I would win the piece there. But actually, it's already defended. Maybe he's just defending this pawn here. This rook is a little short of squares, though, isn't it? Isn't his rook about trapped? Can't go along here. Has to go back, and then I can step up here with my gold. And then the rook has no more moves. Yeah, sometimes it's dangerous to leave your rooks out like that. Pros, I've seen pros do it. You know, not pros, but good players. Maybe they're pros. But I'm just watching them play on 9, not in a professional game. And when they do it, they're very careful about protecting all the squares around the king. So we can trade bishops around, protecting squares from which the rook might be attacked, like this square, the shoulder of the rook. I can take the bishop. Takes back with the knight. Then I get the first drop. Maybe I just drop back where I am. Yeah. Now I've got a rook I can drop and a bishop I can drop, but the bishop drop hits the knight. He needs to defend it. He's got a bishop and a gold. He can defend. Yeah, he can take a pawn. But I thought taking this knight here was pretty strong. This square is defended. Yeah, he can go there. I see. He's going to take a pawn here. Yeah, he's got a gold too, right? So if I go here, he will drop a gold to attack. So I should go here to attack his bishop, I guess. So that the bishop will have to move. We'll go here and promote with check and hit my silver. That's his idea. So maybe I give my rook up for a gold as well, just to keep his bishop from activating. A pawn. Let's take here. Yeah, I thought he would drop a gold here, hitting my rook. And then I do something else. He takes the rook, I take back with the gold, and his bishop is still kind of trapped there. If he gives me a moment, I could drop a rook here, hitting his bishop. And then if he drops a gold, I can just take it. He takes, I take, and it's rook for bishop and gold. Maybe not too bad. Yeah, this bishop, it doesn't have any moves at the moment. Rook is covered, horse is covering, and lance is covering. So I want to keep it that way. So that's why if he drops a rook here, I don't do it. I mean, drops a gold here, I don't do anything. I let him take my rook. I take back, and the bishop still has no moves. How can I get to his king? I guess I drop a pawn or a rook here, somewhere along the back rank, and then look to drop something. Oh, in here. This is protected by the gold, this is protected by the silver. That's protected by the king. So I need to do some disrupting move. A lance here, take here, silver is up, then I could drop something here. If I had a gold in hand or something like that, rook in hand. Well, he's catching up to me on time. I was falling behind. Ah, that's the trick with this one. Yeah, I was forgetting about that drop. So now he's got a silver. And I have pieces to drop. I can drop a gold here attacking his bishop. I don't know what's he going to do with the silver. He's going to attack my rook. Yeah. So like I said, I want to just take back with the gold when he attacks here. So what should I do? Boom, 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 boom. Could drop a gold here attacking his silver. Rook, lance, knight. How about I try a lance and knight? So I drop a lance here and then drop a knight here or here. Targeting this temple, the king's temple here. Okay, now he's got a rook in hand. I can drop the rook here with check. Yeah. If he drops it here with check, I can take it. If he drops the rook here with check, I could drop a gold and force him to move his rook. Yeah, so where would the rook go? It would take this pawn or go here. But it's a good forcing move. Because I'm threatening to just take his rook. And rook can go here or here. It's got two squares it could go to. Yeah. Then I could still drop the knight here because it's protected by a pawn, and I take here with check. Oh, my bishop was guarding this square, so he actually couldn't have gone there. That was kind of the only move. It's interesting that his bishop is still kind of out of play. Okay, he's going over here, looking at this square, attacking this square. So let's do this though first. because that's with check. And this is with check. Then I could drop a silver here. Chase away that nasty dragon. Then maybe drop a rook here to take his bishop. Yeah, if I got a bishop in hand, I could drop it here, and that would skewer the dragon and the king. And it's defended by the pawn and the silver. So he goes there. Yeah, let's just take it. Let's calculate. Rook takes bishop. Knight takes rook, promotes. Bishop drop here. And he does something, and then I can trade the bishop for a dragon. So I give up a rook. And I get a bishop for it. I give up the bishop and get a rook for it. And he takes back, and then it'll be my turn. I'll have a rook in hand. And his king will be a bit exposed. So I think that's okay. Like so. No escape from that pin. And if I check along this file, it's not going to be so great because he can just block with a pawn. Maybe if I can get this horse back in the game somehow. So he looks there. Let's take here with check. Where is the move here? Okay, well, it's putting pressure on his silver there. And I can take that with check if he grabs my silver. If he goes there, then I can go back here with check. Can take this pawn, but I'm more interested in the king. The silver is now supporting a piece. I could drop a silver here. This horse is supporting a piece, potentially dropping a piece there after the king moves. He could drop a pawn. He could push a pawn, rather. I could push a pawn. Yep. Yeah, Shogi is the kind of game I feel like I'm flying blind a lot of the time. Not like chess where I kind of understand what's going on. In Shogi, it's constant improvisation for me. I think once you get better, Yeah, so he ignored the check and I win. Well, it's better than nothing. Let's say thanks for the game. Go back to zoomed out mode. And have a nice day. Thanks for the game. Have a nice day. So, yeah, he forgot to deal with the check. Well, we can take a look at this with Shogi Dokuro and Elmo. Give them a good manner there and see what they think of that game. I'll see you then. Bye. So I had Elmo take a look at the game, and here's the evaluation it gave it. The bars above the line are good for me. I was Sente here, so it looks like I was in the lead most of the game, although there's some ups and downs. Let's go through this. First thing I wanted to point out is this early pawn push. The idea here is that you can push again if you think that your opponent is going for an anaguma. He will keep this pawn back, and so you can push a second time, and that initiates the early attack against the anaguma. And if your opponent responds with this move, then you know he's not playing an anaguma, and you don't have to worry about it. So to be consistent here, I probably should have after he played this move. He didn't push this pawn, which means there's still theoretically a possibility he could play the anaguma. So I should push this pawn again, I suppose, following that theory. And that's an okay move, but I didn't play that, and he didn't play the anaguma, so I guess it all worked out anyway, because it's not necessarily a move you want to play if he's not playing the anaguma. I mean, this is interesting that he's going for a third file rook against my fourth file rook. I don't know. The evaluation is all about even through this section of the game, and the first point at which I get some kind of advantage is here. Let's see. Yeah, it's actually here when he moved the silver. So, and it's the first question mark here. The move pawn 1c to 1d is being recommended here. So at some point it is useful for Gote here to push that pawn forward and stop my pawn from coming forward. And it also gives a square for the bishop. Maybe the bishop will want to go there. But he never pushed that pawn, and so the Elmo thinks that this is good for me as a result. I can't tell at this point. At this point, it still seems all even to me. This is it's 300-point difference in the evaluation. Yeah, it's pretty close to even from from my experience. But this next move was a clear mistake. Actually, when I moved my gold up here, I was already threatening to come out and attack his rook. His rook is short of squares, and he didn't see that danger coming, and instead he moved a gold up around his king, which is an otherwise reasonable move, getting a peerless gold castle. But then I can just attack his rook here, and there's nowhere good for the rook to go. And actually, the move he played, rook takes gold, is recommended by Elmo as the best move here. If he goes back, if the rook drops back here, well, first of all, to the side, to either side, all those squares are covered, so I'll just take it if it goes to any of those squares. So his only free square is there, and then I can move the gold up here, and then he's got nowhere to go. And the gold will cover these three squares, and then coming forward, the gold covers there, and the pawn covers there. So that rook is trapped, well and truly trapped. So he just traded it off. And this is not a bad, I mean, this is bad, but it's not the end of the game. Sometimes having a gold is a reasonable thing to do for a rook, especially if you can get an attack going. I guess the other problem is here he has no attack, so nothing is happening here. And then right here, I did that bishop exchange, and then I dropped my bishop to attack this loose knight after that bishop exchange. It's interesting that Elmo wants me to drop a rook to this square. I have both a rook and a bishop in hand. I drop my bishop here, attacking his knight. But if you drop a rook here, it's looking at this square, and it seems to be a kind of a critical square because Elmo is recommending that after I drop the rook, it's recommending that he should drop his bishop to 2d, this square. And the bishop from that square would defend the knight, and it would also be attacking this pawn. So it seems like this area over here is a critical section of the board, and we're both kind of ignoring that a little bit. I drop my bishop, and then here once again he should, the best answer for him is to drop his bishop at 2d. As we saw before, it defends his knight and it attacks this pawn, which is also already under pressure. In fact, it could be taken at any moment. He did just take it. But having a bishop come in, that would be even stronger. So dropping a bishop there and defending, both defending and attacking, seems to be a good answer at this point. So it was this move that really changed the course of the game. I think he didn't defend his knight, but he just took the pawn, and I grabbed the knight, and now I have a pretty clear winning advantage, and I keep it. Let's go forward. There's a little dip here where, oh yeah, it was a defense. So he managed to drop his rook with check. He did have a rook in hand after some of those trades. And what I could have done is I could have dropped a pawn here to this square. This square, there's no other pawn in that square, so it's a safe square to drop. I didn't consider that. I considered dropping my pawn to this square, but it's not legal because there's already a pawn there. So fortunately, I didn't play that. And sometimes dropping a gold is a good thing to do because it does force him to react in some way. But he had a better move here than what he played. So after I dropped the gold to defend instead of dropping a pawn, he just moved his rook, which is pretty natural in what I was expecting. But he has a really clever move here. Instead of moving the rook, he could play bishop takes pawn. And now that is with check. Bishop takes pawn is with check. So I have to either move the king or take the bishop. And if I take the bishop, then his rook can take my gold. Actually, there's another choice here. I'm sorry. The best response for me is to drop this silver. So I can drop a silver here. So after he's taken that pawn with check, I can drop a silver. But then he can take some of these pieces. But I think the main point of the tactic is this idea that after he takes with check, I take back, then this gold is hanging. So anyway, in the complications, he comes out slightly better after taking there. Instead, he just ran with his rook, which is, like I said, what I was expecting. He got a promoted rook out of it, and his rook is out of trouble. But then this is still good for me. I keep an advantage here. And one last wrinkle here. At this point, he was still trying to kind of chase me around, dropping knights and attacking things. And so I saw a little tactic here where, I take his bishop, and he takes back. Something went wrong there? Let's see. He had a knight there. Okay, and in this position, yeah, he dropped a knight there. So I take his bishop, and the knight takes back, and then I drop the bishop to this square, where I've got a skewer of the or a pin of that dragon against the king, and so that's pretty nice. I thought that would be good for me. But better is just the simple, and it keeps some advantage, but you see it gives away a lot of the advantage to it. The evaluation drops quite a bit. Yeah, so the complications, I guess, weren't all that great for me. The simple move is just gold takes knight. And then after he takes my gold, then I can take his silver. And so I get a silver and a knight for a gold, which is a great deal for me and keeps me with a strong lead in material. So when we go in for these complications, I take there and I drop the bishop. I mean, I do get the dragon, So, and I thought I was weakening his king a little bit, but there's really just not enough here to justify that exchange, although I still have the advantage here somewhat. So let's see. And then this was the last move of the game. He attacked my horse. My horse was attacking his silver, so he dropped the silver back to attack my horse. And then when I dropped it back, I was also checking the king. I had been trying to get on this diagonal anyway. I was still going after that idea of trying to displace his king, maybe dropping a silver here or a rook here later after the king moves. So depending on where the king goes or what he does, he could also interpose with a piece too. Any of those would be fine, and the game would go on. And I have an advantage here, a sizable advantage, but it's not game over by any means. I can still make mistakes, but he failed to notice the check and played illegal move instead. So that was how the game ended. Hope you guys enjoyed this. I'll see you next time. Bye now.